Hi, this is Auntie FLO again. Um, Back today to read the fourth story of this four-story series for this book. As you might recall, the first story was the 2 by 10 liquor store robberies. Second story was Just One Baby with No Specification. Third one was Black Sheep Unfair Treatment Within Siblings. And the fourth one is Never Look Back at What You Left Behind. Okay, this story, as well as the other three, all fictitious stories, written by me, Auntie Flo. And this story is about a young girl named Brittany Cole, a cute petite cheerleader, and a young man named Jackson, and that's Jackson Duncan, a muscular, handsome basketball player. And they both were very, very popular in high school. They both were juniors, 16 years old when they met at Glendale High in Glendale, California. Even though their parents were against them spending so much time together, because it seems their grades had started to slip, whereby they were both A students had now become B students. So by the time they became seniors, they appeared to be glued to each other. Then just before the high school graduation, Brittany started experiencing morning sickness, and her mom took her to the doctor, and it was confirmed that she was 8 weeks pregnant. Brittany's parents were outraged, and so was Jackson's parents. Brittany and her mom got into this big fight, and she put Brittany out, and Brittany didn't call Jackson, and he picked her up and took her to his parents' house. Jackson's mom agreed to allow her to stay there until they graduated from high school and get jobs and eventually get their own apartment. Well, they both graduated from high school on schedule, and 2 months later, when she was 8 months pregnant, it was discovered through the ultrasound that she was having twins. They were happy and scared at the same time. The Jackson parents decided to allow them to live with them until the twins were at least 1 year old, and everybody was happy about that. Jackson had a younger brother and sister, but his parents had a 4-bedroom house. Brittany had a 3-bedroom house and had two younger sisters who were very pretty, and whom mom didn't want Brittany around for fear that she might taint them by living there and being pregnant. Then on August 8th, 2008, Brittany delivered 2 healthy twin boys, and they named them Donnie and Damien. All was good because Brittany was taking online courses while preparing to get a job. Jackson, in the meantime, was going to a local community college and working full-time. They were able to save quite a bit of money. By the time the twins were born, the twins were 4 months old, Brittany started having morning sickness again. Jackson went to the local drugstore and bought a pregnancy kit and came back, and they secretly did a test, and she was pregnant again. They finally got up enough nerves to tell his mom, and she blew her top and gave them 30 days to move. The couple moved in 30 days to a 1-bedroom apartment, which was all they could afford. Brittany was terribly sick with this baby and could not properly take care of the twins nor the house, while Jackson was at work and school approximately 16 hours a day. Needless to say, they started arguing a lot because he just did not understand why she was unable to keep the house clean and take care of the kids. Anyway, she went to the doctor just to find out that this baby was due July 20th and that she was already 3 months pregnant, which means they would have 3 kids less than 2 years old. Sure enough, on July 21st, 2009, Brittany delivered a healthy, beautiful baby girl and named her April. The whole family on both sides were there at the hospital to greet the newcomer. Everybody loves a new baby. Brittany felt much better now and was doing a good job at keeping the house much cleaner and the 3 babies, and continued to breastfeed all at the same time. In spite of everything, including the fact that Brittany had gone from a petite 115-pound young lady to about 200 pounds, but they were still sexually active. Then, when the baby was 6 weeks old, the twins were approximately 13 months, and what do you know? Brittany forgot to take a pill, and there was no morning sickness. But notice how she was craving food, but didn't think anything of it. But when she went for a 6-week checkup, her OB doctor told her she was 3 weeks pregnant. She cried and cried, but finally told Jackson, and he was upset and yelling. He told his mother, and she was upset, and the whole neighborhood was whispering and talking about them, saying that in 24 months they had had 4 kids. Since they didn't believe in abortion, they decided to deliver this baby and get her tubes tied. Okay, as they agreed, when she delivered another beautiful baby girl on March 21st, 2010, and named her Autumn, she got her tubes tied. Approximately 6 months later, as she thought things were going pretty good, she actually got a job since Jackson's mom was at home and she was willing to babysit the kids during the day. They had bought 4 car seats at the Salvation Army, and Jackson would drop them all off and pick them up from his mom. When he would leave with the kids in the morning, Brittany would go through picking up the toys, clothes on the floor, off the floor or the sofa or whatever, make beds, put dishes in the dishwater, get ready, and catch the bus to work. She really enjoyed getting away to work and to deal with adults as opposed to dealing with children all day. Although she loved her kids, she did so well, she was able to buy her a car at work. No, the kids, she did really well at work. So then she noticed that Jackson was not physically attracted to her as he had been in the past. He was meaner and wasn't home much. It was just her and the kids, and they never went anywhere because she couldn't handle all them in public by herself. By the time the twins were 30 months, April was 21 months, and Autumn was 12 months, Jackson apparently had met another beautiful woman that was in college with no kids. His folks were very happy for him and let it be known. Even though they loved the grandkids, they seemed not to care too much about Brittany's feelings. So he came home one day and just moved out to his mom's. Brittany's mom was too happy to brag on her younger sisters and say to her, "I told you so." One Saturday night, Brittany took a good look at herself in the mirror, and for the first time in a long time, she saw how huge she had gotten and upset, how unkempt she looked. After drinking a few beers, she asked her neighbor to watch the kids for an hour. She went over and spied on Jackson and saw him coming out of his mama's house with a beautiful girl. She got out of the car and confronted him. An argument ensued, and he slapped her, something he had never done. His relatives came out, and they stopped it, of course, but they did ask Brittany to leave. Jackson went off saying he didn't want her fat, lazy ass anymore. Brittany was so upset she went home and cried to her neighbor, who was about 15 years her senior. The older lady tried to comfort her. By the next morning, she stopped crying and wrote in her journal that she was going to lose the weight, get a promotion on her job, buy her a house, and raise her kids to be the best they can be. Even though she was unhappy and depressed, she knew she had to move forward. Since Jackson didn't come to see her and the kids for a year, but only gave money to his mom to give to her, she continued to work and bought a really nice 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood. Bought some nice furniture, and after about 4 years, the twins were on a basketball team, and 2 years later, April was participating in plays at school. Brittany was so busy she didn't notice that her weight was back to 115 pounds. She met some new friends and started to go places for a change, but still wasn't interested in hooking up with a new man. Brittany was no longer taking the kids to Jackson's mom's house, but they had started to visit her parents. She had heard through the grapevine that Jackson had gotten married and was expecting a child and moved to Riverside. Years went by, and the twins, and by now the twins were now 14 years old, playing on the high school basketball team, and they were good. Both 3-point shooters and played the point guard position. They played on the same team, both starters, and they seemed to know each other's every move before they made it. Hardly lost a game. Both girls were on the drill team in middle school. Brittany had ran into one of Jackson's sisters in the supermarket, and she seemed so happy to see her and the kids. The boys were handsome like Jackson, and the girls were petite and cute like Brittany. His sister Tanya told her Jackson had a 9-year-old boy that had been expelled from school for fighting, and he and his wife were getting a divorce. Brittany just shrugged her shoulders. Sure enough, within 2 weeks, her doorbell rang, and one of the girls went to the door, and she yelled out, "Mom, a man is at the door." Brittany came to the door and looked out and almost fainted because it was Jackson standing there, and he looked sheepish and said, "Hi, can I come in?" She slowly opened the door, and he followed her back to the kitchen. She was making her famous lasagna with triple cheese, which was always his favorite. He had a seat at the counter and just watched and told her how good the food smelled and how good she looked. Autumn, who answered the door, followed them to the kitchen. He kept staring at Autumn, and Brittany said, "That's your dad." She was shocked. Just then, the boys came home, smelled the food, and came straight to the kitchen in their basketball gear. Jackson was smiling from ear to ear with nothing but love and admiration and guilt on his face all at the same time. Again, Brittany said to the boys, "That's your dad." They recognized him but barely remembered him and just said hi and shook his hand. They took their mom. They told their mom when the next game was going to be, which was on the coming Saturday. After the boys left the room, he asked if he could come. Jackson asked if he could come to the game on Saturday, and she said sure. She later gave him the information. Just then, April came into the kitchen, and Jackson did a double take. And Brittany again said, "That's your dad," and she just said, and went on about her business. April is much less forgiving than the rest of the kids, and she looked exactly like Brittany. He said, "Britt, I can't blame them. I was a total asshole, and I am so sorry." She didn't respond to that. She just said, "Would you like something to eat?" And said yes, and complimented her on her house and getting her BA degree and all the stuff that he had heard about through his sister. As he was leaving the game on Saturday, he asked could he have her number, and he would call, and she gave it to him. And he would call, and they would talk for hours. And he was saying what a mistake he made leaving her and the kids, and and if it takes him the rest of his life to make it up to her and the kids, he would do so. He told her all about the troubles he had with his wife and son. He said both of their lives would have been so much better and easier if he had done the right thing and married her. But no matter what he said or did, it seems that Brittany was not listening anymore. There was no trust. Lesson learned. Brittany repeated something her dad had said years ago. Don't look back. You might turn into a pillow of salt. Which is also quoted by a lot of others. The end.